Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today I thought we would shake things up a little bit and check out some of the cringiest nutrition advice on the internets. There's a lot of it out there, so we're probably gonna have to make a part 2 and 3 and 4 and 100 of this video, but nonetheless, it sounds like we started a new series, guys. I got inspiration for this video from a Reddit thread, so we're gonna start off there and check out some of the cringy stuff on Reddit and move on to TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and all that fun stuff. I hope you have fun with this video, and if you do, let me know in the comments section below, and hit the like button if you want to do a cringy nutrition advice YouTube video just from submissions from you guys. And real quick, if you're new, my name is Katie. I'm a registered dietitian and personal trainer, and I specialize in PCOS nutrition, blood sugar management, and how to have a healthy diet without restriction, deprivation, or dieting. So if that interests you, then hit the subscribe button. We just hit 3,000 subscribers, and I'm so proud and so happy to be growing with you as a community over the last 5 or so years that we've had this channel. I'm excited to grow more and see what's in store for the future. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. All right, so this Reddit thread is titled Cringy Nutrition Trends, and the poster says, I teach intro to nutrition to college undergrads, and I'm always looking for buzzy nutrition fads to break down with them. What's the worst of the worst, the cringiest of the cringe that you've seen out there lately? First of all, I love this. There's basically an endless supply of cringy stuff on the internet as a dietitian. It's sometimes way beyond cringe, unfortunately. And also, I used to be a grad assistant for undergraduates of a food science and basic food preparation class of dietetic students and family and consumer science students. So, you know, just a little bit of a connection there. The very first comment says, that crazy fruitarian trend of 2014-ish time. The Freely the Banana Girl. Edit, this isn't a recent one, but it affected me most and caused a lot of EDs. Slanty face. So yeah, I never saw Freely the Banana Girl like as a active viewer when she was like her most popular, but I heard about her from one of my favorite YouTubers, Kaylin Nicholson, and she said the exact same thing, I believe, that it kind of triggered some disordered behaviors with food. I definitely don't think this poster is alone. Sorry, there's so much pollen outside that my nose is dying, so if I itch my nose a lot, I'm sorry. Basically, the gist is this Freely the Banana Girl had like a zillion bananas a day, and that was like her primary source of nutrients in her primary diet. That to me is so scary. Even if you take any sort of food, no matter if it's super healthy and nutrient dense or like a thing that's like less nutrient dense. I always like to use Pop-Tarts, even though we're not trying to demonize Pop-Tarts, but no matter what food you think of, if you're having it all the time and that's the only thing that you get nutrients from, that's not a good thing. Your body needs carbs, fat, and protein, and it needs variety. So I like to call variety color, just looking at your plate and being like, is it different from day to day? Is it different from week to week or month to month? It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have the same types of foods over and over again, because I'm also a creature of habit and I do the same thing. But you have to have variety. My gosh. As someone said in response to that, yes, her. A clip of her just so confidently spewing misinformation is seared in my mind. Half hilarious, half terrifying. I feel like that's so many people in the internet space, especially the nutrition internet space nowadays. There's something about nutrition and fitness that just attracts some really weird, quacky type people that it doesn't seem to attract in other professions. I'm not really sure why nutrition, maybe it's because we all eat. That could be it, but I just don't get why. In the comments below, tell me why you think nutrition and fitness are like the top 2 things to have large amounts of misinformation in them all over the internet. Maya, stop knocking things over in the background. People who promote 100% raw diets pain me physically. There are several nutrients that aren't accessible to our digestive system / metabolism without being denatured via heat. The last I heard, the theory was being able to cook proteins is what led us to developing our brains to a larger size and complexity compared to our ancestors and primates. That goes without mentioning the food safety aspect. I talked about this in my Liver King video, and I completely agree. Even even when you think of raw diet and take the meat out of the context, it's still not realistic for everyone because there's a lot of people that wouldn't be having a variety of foods like getting vegetables if they're not cooked. It's just not realistic or necessary in this day and age. There's nothing wrong with cooking the food. It's not gonna immediately deteriorate all the nutritional value from said food. Now, there are some instances where this can be legitimately somewhat of a concern, like when you boil things in water, say you're boiling broccoli, some of the water-soluble vitamins can get cooked out into the water, but there are a lot of ways around that, like steaming vegetables in a small amount of water and adding that small amount of water back to the top of the vegetables once you're done cooking it. You can also do things like cook in your air fryer or bake in the oven, and this preserves a lot of the nutrients from that food. So there's that little hair of truth in that bit of information, but of course the internet has to take that little hint of truth and just run with it and fearmonger. And hopefully I don't have to convince you to eat your meats not raw, but absolutely, like, please cook your dang beef and chicken and fish. You do not want to have those uncooked. You will be in the hospital and hopefully still be alive to tell the tale after, but it will not be a fun experience. Sorry, there's a little fear mongering in that, but it's true. Another person says weight loss teas, and right underneath, yep, just laxatives. Yeah, typically weight loss teas don't really have anything to do with impacting your weight loss at all. When it comes to detox teas, that's where I see the laxatives come in, where essentially it's herbs or other things that just make you go number 2 and have to do it really urgently. And that water loss is what makes you quote unquote lose weight or have a flat belly. I grabbed my belly as if I could make a flat motion with it, but then I remembered that I'm in my 3rd trimester of pregnancy and I can't do that. And then the other thing that I've seen in teas is things like capsaicin or lemon juice or green tea, which certain things like the capsaicin and green tea can definitely have an impact on metabolism for a very short period of time and in a very minute way, but it's not gonna make or break like fat loss. Green tea does have some studies on people who consume lots of green tea have lower belly fat, but there's really, like, you don't have to buy like a special weight loss tea for that. You can just get regular green tea. I like David's tea, Tivana, stuff like that. And it's super cheap and you don't have to buy into the hype. You eat fat, you get fat. From the 80s, and my mom still chants it. Ugh, that is really cringe. I'm so sorry that your mom does that to you. Yeah, our families have a huge impact on our body image and our perception of food because, of course, I mean, just naturally, that's who we grew up with and that's who was our biggest influence in life. So when we have parents that teach unhealthy behaviors, unfortunately, that they probably got taught as a young kid as well. So it's like they only teach what they know. It can really impact us heavily psychologically. I do remember the whole demonizing fat phase. Now it's definitely carbs that are demonized. There goes my itch again. And the thing I will say with that is probably originally where that came from is that fats have more calories per gram. They have 9 calories per gram versus protein and carbs, which have 4. And so it can be easier to gain weight if you're having an excessive amount of fat versus carbs because they're more energy dense. But no one macronutrient makes you fat. If you are consuming far more than you are burning, then you will gain fat. And we'll try to keep that as like a neutral of a phrase or fact as possible. It's not good or bad, but that's just how it is. It's not caused by carbs, it's not caused by fat, it's not even caused by sugar and processed things. It's caused by the overall energy consumption in excess. Not to say that other things don't contribute to it, but you know, you know, you get me. The whole apple cider vinegar thing won't seem to go away. Apparently it treats and cures just about everything, depending on whom you ask. Eye roll. Okay, so I'm a little biased now with apple cider vinegar because I've kind of relearned to love it because it can be really helpful for those, especially who have maybe insulin resistance, diabetes, or PCOS, where you're trying to manage blood sugar and prevent those really big spikes and dips. So having apple cider vinegar before a meal can actually be good for certain crowds and populations. Now, did it get overhyped at one point in time? Yes. I don't think it's gonna like sizzle belly fat, and I don't think it's some miracle cure, but it does seem to have a lot of properties in it that are good for several different things. So I mentioned the blood sugar balance piece. I've also used it for different things like skincare and hair, like scalp care, and it did work significantly well for like, you know, reducing flakes and stuff like that on the scalp. I know that's super sexy. And it can work as a toner on the skin as long as you dilute it with water. So definitely don't just like slap it right on your skin. It's not gonna feel good, and it's probably gonna burn because it is an acid. Same goes with consuming it in a drink. You can definitely have it as a shot if you can tolerate it well, but I find that adding water to it is much better on the old esophagus and also on the enamel of your teeth. It can be really intense on that if you do it time and time again. So just look out for that and dilute it and enjoy it in moderation, and know that it's not just some crazy magical cure, but it can help. Making insane high protein meals with almost zero fat really annoys me, like chicken breasts, Greek yogurt, ranch, and fat-free cheese, burritos with no carb wraps. There's no way they taste good, and there's no way you have zero room in your macro budget for carbs or fat. That's kind of like the whole circa, I don't know how many years ago it is at this point, like 5 to 10 years ago, like when macros really hit their peak, the flexible dieting, and if it fits your macros. Your body, of course, needs protein, and protein is one of the most difficult macronutrients that I find my clients struggling with to get in, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to like go crazy with it and have excessive amounts. A lot of my female clients need anywhere from 2 to 4, and if they're really active, 5 palm-sized portions of protein per day. Men a little bit higher, probably closer to 4 to 7 palm-sized portions per day, but nonetheless, it's not as much as you think to build muscle and to maintain that muscle and to feel satiated. Those people that are extreme keto and eat 4 sticks of butter and a pound of beef per day, and then someone says underneath, keto in general. Yeah, absolutely. Keto has been the bane of my existence for a while now, just because it's so hypocritical in that it teaches that it's the healthy way and that you'll lose all this weight from it, which some people really do lose the weight from it, but then you are sacrificing a lot of other things to get that like weight loss. So A, you're probably sacrificing your sanity and your mood because carbs are necessary and the most important nutrient for overall energy and for our brain to function properly. That's what our brain prefers. And then there's also the fact that having that excessive amount of butter and saturated fat from animals and not having any fiber to kind of sweep all of that stuff in excess out of your body is gonna lead to really elevated cholesterol, LDLs, low HDL, and high triglycerides, which is just a recipe for disaster when it comes to heart health and stroke and heart attack prevention. Just enjoy your damn carbs. Any restrictive diets that are over the top are cringy in my book. The fad against fruits. There's an actual doctor going around the internet claiming to not eat fruits and bringing up fructose research to support his claims. I've definitely seen a lot of doctors on the internet who are making this claim against fruit, or at least like a handful of doctors. I can think of a couple. One on YouTube and one that's often shirtless on Instagram and TikTok all the time. And they also have a thing against vegetables too, apparently. I'm just like, just shut up at this point. Just stop, shut up. And a lot of their research is just complete BS. They will pull out one article, and I've done this before with, okay, well, I'll say his name, the Carnivore MD, where I will take whatever research article he is claiming says that kale is bad for you, or broccoli is bad for you, or fruit is bad for you. And I'll look up the exact PubMed article because it's not that hard to find. It's public knowledge and it's a public, you know, whatever you call it, like a public search engine for scientific literature. And the article won't even claim what he's claiming that the article claims. And even if it does, it'll be like to some stretch of the imagination where he's very much skewing what it says. Like one time, oh my God, I could literally go on forever about this guy. We'll probably have to just dedicate a video to him because unfortunately, he is like the biggest stressor of my viewing time on Instagram. But the other thing is a lot of the research that they find on like fructose and that being like a negative thing, they do this research on like rats. We cannot make a direct correlation with humans because of studies done by rats. There are some instances where it's like unethical to do it on humans, and so we do it on rats. And not to say that's ethical either, but like, you know. And there's reasons why rat studies are done. They're more affordable. You know, obviously you can get 100 rats easier than you can get 100 humans to be consistent in a scientific study. So the next time someone says that fruits are bad for you, tell them to show the literature and then read the literature and just scroll down to the results section of that literature. You don't even have to read through the whole thing. And then tell me what it says. And chances are it doesn't even say or correlate with what claims they're making. All right, let's move on to some videos because, you know, we like to shake it up here.
Throw the white bread away.
Dairy is another huge cause of acne.
What if I tell you that red meat consumption is linked to serious health problems?
Cereal is probably the worst way you can possibly start your morning.
Really should avoid things like fruit is because of sugar.
Which vegetables are okay to eat? My answer is no.
Here's the fruit guy.
Babies for baby cows. Are you a cow? No.
Protein bars are keeping you fat.
Non-stick pans are nuking your testosterone.
This is so true of the nutrition and fitness industry. I feel like this reel does like the best depiction that anyone could possibly do of how the internet space works with nutrition. There's always someone that's gonna say something about some specific food, no matter what you do. I mean, obviously I'm a biased source, I'm a dietitian, but go to the people who have actually studied for extensive periods of time, evidence-based research, evidence-based information. Science is not perfect by any means. It's always developing, so it can be very confusing. But what dietitians do is we are able to interpret that research and see if it's legitimate and what is the most up-to-date helpful knowledge for my client to meet their goals. We also go by a strong code of ethics. So whenever we are giving nutrition advice, whether it's on YouTube or one-on-one in a client setting, we are keeping our clients in mind. We are not doing it for the sake of our own vanity or the sake of making money. We're doing it for the betterment of public health.
We're back at Costco to expose fake health foods that are trying to rip you off.
Instead of Dave's Killer Bread, with 5 grams of added sugar and 110 calories per slice, just buy the freshly baked multigrain bread from Costco's bakery. No cane sugar, no preservatives.
Okay, but here's the thing. First of all, Dave's Killer Bread is amazing, so how dare he come at my Dave's Killer Bread? It's full of nutrients, protein, and fiber, and I love the flavor and texture. It's a great pick. Don't be fooled. The funny thing that comes with this is that there is so much privilege in what this guy is saying, and obviously he doesn't realize it. I get the Costco bagels all the time, and I can tell you that they last about 4 days max without molding over. So I imagine that the bread is very, very similar if it's their fresh bakery bread, which if you have a big family or you have a party or something where you can just eat up that bread really quickly, then I say go for it. But if you're just a family that's trying to go week to week eating healthy groceries and you're not gonna be eating 2 giant loaves of bread in, you know, a couple days, then how would it make sense to spend $8 just to waste that food. It makes more sense, of course, to have the one that's gonna stay fresher longer via a small, minute amount of preservatives and salt. Like, who cares?
Instead of this so-called superfood juice with 24 grams of added sugar, nature's real superfoods with all of the fiber intact and no added sugar.
People always like to attack like liquid calories. I mean, of course, fresh produce is going to be way better than having a fruit juice, but in moderation, you're fine. You're not going to die having juice.
Instead of this organic protein bar that has 20 plus superfoods and it's gluten-free, but actually has less protein than sugar and is therefore totally misleading and totally ripping you off.
Costco protein bars are cheap, without a lot of sugar, and really good protein.
Okay, so he's dissing on perfect bars, which are made with a ton of whole food ingredients, but then he's telling you to get basically the Costco equivalent of the Quest bars, which, by the way, I have both of these protein bars in my fridge just to show you that I'm like, you know, open-minded to all types of foods, of course. But that's just so ironic to me because I can't even remember what type of man-made fiber is in those Costco bars. But on one end, he's okay with that. But on the other hand, he's not okay with like very basic preservatives that are in things to just help us not waste food. It helps lower food waste. That's not a bad thing.
Grocery shopping together. All right. Oop.
I am not going there.
Come on, babe, we're going here.
Babe, these prices are all expensive.
If we're living together, you're gonna eat the food that I want.
These eggs are $7.
No, they're 14. It's $12.
It's like $2 at Ralph's.
I know my worth.
But we should have a pizza night tonight.
Yes, I make this pizza. It's egg white crust, uncured turkey, veggies all over, vegan cheese. It's so good.
What about just Domino's?
Well, if you don't want to do my pizza, we can always do bean pasta.
No, I'm okay.
My $60 egg white pizza sounding real good, huh? I know my worth.
That's a perfect example of the privilege thing that I mentioned. There's a lot of that in the health world. You can probably see from some of the celebrities or Instagram influencers that are out there that when you have a lot of money, it is so much easier to eat healthy, like in so many different ways. You can pay for produce and not have to worry if it goes bad on you. You can buy the organic, gluten-free, paleo option at Whole Foods and not have to think twice about it. You can buy the higher quality meats without batting an eyelash. And of course, because you have zero concern about overspending because, you know, hypothetically in a privileged situation, you have plenty of money to do whatever you want with your budget, then you're not worried about going hungry. You're able to worry about more vanity related things. And hey, listen, I've been in a situation when I was in my internship, I had to supplement my groceries going to the food pantry, and I was volunteering as a dietetic intern at the food pantry. And now I would say I'm in a better position financially, so food's really expensive, so I wouldn't call myself hyper privileged, but all of that to say there's a huge spectrum of privilege when it comes to healthy eating. And when you have plenty of money to spend, you can buy greens powders, you can buy organic produce, organic veggies, organic meats, and you tend to be in a position where you're like, how dare everyone not eat like this? That's their own fault. But there's so many considerations and factors that you have to factor in when it comes to health choices, like whether or not to buy the frozen or the canned versus the fresh fruit, or the organic versus non-organic based on what your budget is. So if you're ever feeling tempted to judge anyone based off of what they eat, just consider that there's more to the story than what you probably see. Oh boy. Yeah, so I'm about to come out with another video related to this topic, but it's really unfortunate to see all the hype train on Ozempic as if it's something that most people should be considering. I think that it can be something that is a line of defense for someone who has been trying to lose weight for a long time, maybe isn't having any luck, and they are on their last line of defense and they need something to help so they can lower their blood sugars and get healthy in other ways. But seeing a very thin woman hyping up Ozempic and saying that she doesn't need to work out, she just needs to have Ozempic, I get it, it's humor-based, it's supposed to be funny, but it's It's one of those things that kind of crosses the line of humor to me, because this Instagram reel, I think it had over 1 million views when I first saw it. And guess how many of those views are by children or teenagers? You know, those teenagers don't understand that this is mom life humor. They just see it and they internalize that and then potentially look for illegal ways to get Ozempic.
People really will get on camera and just say anything, won't they?
If you're craving dairy, cheeses, you know, I don't know, milks, you're craving mother very often.
This woman really woke up and said, I'm gonna say some bullshit on camera today.
Yes, Ray, that is exactly what happens every day in the nutrition world.
Oh, but it's not over. It gets worse.
If you are craving baked goods or gluten, usually what you're craving is the energy of your father. Subconsciously, when you're reaching out for that piece of baguette, you are craving the nurturing of your father or his energies in your life. Again, whether he's present or not present, right? There's something about that craving that leads you back to your father.
So like, what, my parents are made of carbs? What, is she like the Sigmund Freud of dietary advice? I don't know, I've never eaten a slice of meat lover's pizza and said, you know what would go really well with this? My dad.
This reel I found earlier this week and it like killed me, honestly. It's so freaking funny. I cannot believe some of the nutrition nonsense out there. And I love what he said about the Sigmund and Freud of dietary advice. Someday we're gonna have a diet book where it's like telling you dietary advice based on your zodiac sign, if that's not already a thing. Honestly, you just have to laugh at it sometimes because it gets so silly out there in the nutrition world. I said it before, but I'll say it again. Get your advice from someone who is ethically sound and someone who has a real background in nutrition that cares about your well-being. And usually how you can tell if someone has your best interest in mind on the internet, beyond the degree aspect, is, are they encouraging you to restrict more things? Are they encouraging you to fear certain things? Are they encouraging you to adapt a lifestyle that only the in crowd is allowed into? That is really the sign of some quackery. A lot of the extreme people out there, they're trying to make you feel special by adapting a specific way of eating. As a professional who has your best interest in mind is probably going to have a lot more of an open-minded point of view and is going to give you the facts and information and let you decide for yourself what is the best plan of action for you. They're not going to like try to make you feel like you're a horrible person if you have a baguette or if you have dairy or gluten or vegetables for that matter. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope that you had some fun laughing at some cringy nutrition stuff on the internet with me. Let me know in the comment section below if you'd like me to do another video like this one. And also let me know in the comments what has been the craziest thing that you've seen on the internet about nutrition. I always love hearing from you guys. And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And if you want to keep hanging out with me here on YouTube, click or tap the screen to head on over to the next video. Check out all my links, including my meal plans, my free resources, and my free masterclasses in the description, and how you can go further, faster with your nutrition goals with me as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.